Hello, everybody. Okay, so today we are going to be having an honest reflection about winter and spring, because one thing I have noticed after I just wrapped up with the last of my mentoring folk one-on-one, which is always such a good insight into what's really going on with people's businesses and the struggles they have or the wins they have. And then you may, if you're someone who heavily marketed spring and seemed successful with that, you may have gotten a DM from me that just said, like, hey, how did this end up booking out? Not because I'm a hater or anything. I'm just doing market research. And what I have found across the board is that the most successful spring marketing runway honestly starts in the fall. There are photographers who have, over the course of their careers, built up a strong spring pull where they have families that are coming back every single spring. And that's become habitual for those families. So that's where the win is. Because we talked about previously how people are not natively using search to search out spring sessions because it's just not something that's on the radar culturally for the American people, at least. And that is also state dependent. But in most of the states where I've worked with people where they have different seasons, like really hot times, like Arizona is an example where the summer is so hot, you can't really go outside, or, states where it's too humid in the summer, they've adjusted and they can use that general knowledge of summer to push for spring. So those are like the two outlier cases. But even then, it is really difficult to not have people continue to gather in fall and just wait for fall, look for fall. So I just want to have an honest conversation about the reality of what that is looking like for most people. This is the first year that I just gave myself permission to not do a spring event. Every single year, I have felt this push to do motherhood minis or spring minis or something that has to do with spring that's centered around an event. And at the end of the day, when I went back to all of those past years, so in some years it's been outside, which in Seattle was really tough. I had one year where there was one family who had signed up for a spring mini where they were all supposed to be back to back on one day. And it was rained out the first day. So then everyone scatters like a bag of marbles because nobody then has the same availability. And I'm chasing people around for the whole month of April. And that particular year was really rainy in Seattle. And I had one family where we rescheduled 7 times. So the time that it takes me to reschedule someone in that time, to get them on the calendar, just the emails back and forth, that's a big time commitment. It's a lot of work. And that's, a mini at the end of the day. And yes, I could have set myself up way better. I could have said, if it's rained out, we're going to the studio. But again, that's really tricky because what is the point of the photos? Like, are we just trying to get the photos? And if so, why? It makes more sense to say spring is here. It's fleeting. It lasts this amount of time. So you got to hop in front of the camera and get the images while the flowers are here or whatever. So anyway, I went back and looked, and even when I've done stuff in my studio, it was so much marketing work. And often that marketing work for those spring sessions started in like January, February. And that's the part I want to have the honest conversation about, because I feel like what we need to do, all of us as a collective, unless you are excluded from this, unless your spring is just off the charts, which my spring with regular sessions is normally fine. Because I have newborn sessions and I have my studio. So that is a unique case. So what I'm talking about here is someone who's an outdoor photographer and they want to book more spring, but they're really booking a lot in fall. What does the reality look like? Because I never want to set people up to fail. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, put all of your effort into booking spring. And the reason this comes up is I had multiple people in marketing mentoring. And this is also because of this particular time in marketing is one of the hardest in terms of gathering attention that I've ever experienced in my 14 years. So in that way, it might be an outlier as well. But I had one-on-one students, and we were trying literally every marketing like tactic in the book, and it was just so hard to get people to book. And there was this is like beautiful imagery, amazing scenery, gorgeous flowers, or in other parts of the country at the beach. Like, it was just so hard. And when marketing feels hard, it can be very, very detrimental to your overall feeling about your business, because there's nothing worse than marketing the poop out of something and having everyone just keep standing with their backs turned to you, right? So if we look at the people who I spoke to, I reached out, and they seem to have successful springs. A lot of them will tell me that it took them years. We always talk in here about patience and runway and giving time for things to build. Years for them to build out spring. So it was very intentional. And like one of these brands is a motherhood brand, mostly motherhood. It seems to be the brand is really centered around whatever is happening in nature. So she's organized all of her shoots around kind of these locations and when they bloom. And it's been great. She does motherhood, so her messaging is a little different. Just by doing motherhood, she is taking a left turn away from the fall family photography frenzy. You know what I mean? Because a motherhood session, that's a different category than a Christmas card photo. And I know we are not all chasing Christmas card people. Like, I know that. And we have all collectively, many of us have decided that the Christmas card people are really just sort of the what comes in fall, and it's often can feel misaligned with our artistry and all of that stuff, but we still do those sessions because it's a really nice income bump. I feel like that's true for a lot of people. Other people who really embrace that, like the traditional kind of very posed portrait, they are doing great too. Like, this is no shade toward anyone. I feel like everyone who has found their niche and their way of shooting and their way of connecting to clients is perfect. But I'm talking about this idea of one of the reasons for the success of this brand in spring was first the separation. So if you're talking about motherhood, that's a year-long capturable event, whereas a family session, it's just ingrained in the minds of so many families that it needs to be this fall thing. So that right away was something that was really powerful. Now you'll say to me, well, I did a motherhood session. I did motherhood minis and they didn't book out. That is something that you probably, in all honesty, didn't give yourself enough runway or enough marketing talking points. This brand that I'm talking about that had a very successful spring, they are talking about that solely and only. And they're using scarcity in their marketing, and they're showing up all the time to talk about their availability. So it is an absolute strategy that's going on. They're building wait lists with ManyChat. Like that, and I'm not saying that this is how everyone has to market. I'm giving you an example of what worked, because if you take that brand and that messaging and that strategy and you compare it to the most gorgeous photography you can think of in a field of flowers, but that person's only talked about it 2 to 3 times, and most of their clients come in fall and maybe late summer, it's just a huge pivot to try to get people to look at spring. So what I want everyone to do, and it's the same thing as there's a few photographers who I follow who really, really do well in winter. They have like a winter or snow sort of subset of their business, and they do really, really well with those. But what people don't understand is a lot of those snow sessions, those dates are put out at the end of summer of the previous year. So they're capturing that interest and that all eyes on photography during that culturally relevant time for family photography. They're capturing more eyes and more interest and educating and showcasing what they can book in the future. So it's strategy. At the end of the day, it's all about strategy. So what I want all of you to do is take an honest look at what you really want your spring to look like. And the reason I say that is because if you know in your heart that you want to do more spring, time is running out for you to go out there and do some model calls that you keep close to your chest until maybe like August, when you start talking about what's available. So you could upsell the people who buy from you in fall and say, included in fall this year, everyone who books fall for an increased amount, you can also get my spring mini, and they pay for it then, and you keep the money in a separate account to pay for your spring. Or you decide it's too damn hard and I'm not partaking in it, and I'm going to do 2 full days of fall minis that will cover what I usually make in spring. Hint, go look and see what you make in spring and see if what that amount is, and if you could cover it at another time of year. And then any wins that you have in spring will just be additional. Same goes for winter. I feel like winter is sort of, for the vast majority of family photographers, winter is just a write-off. Unless you have a studio or you're doing snow or you're a newborn photographer, first of all, this was the other thing too, is in the beginning of spring, I started to get that like I have it right now where I'm like, oh, I want to shoot, which is good because I have lots of sessions coming up. So I feel really excited, but I started feeling that itchiness to get shooting probably in mid-March, and the Pacific Northwest looks like a sad, wet sock. So I'm not going to be like, if I actually got a family to go outside on the one sunny day we have in March, it's not even worth it really, because we're just dripping with dew. I don't even know what my brain is saying right now. And everyone is wet, and the children are slipping and sliding, and the dresses are covered in mud, and you know what I mean? So it's like sometimes the vision that's in our head can't actually even be accomplished. So that's where I want you guys to look honestly at this and say, if I want to book out spring, first of all, go get a bunch of content right now when the flowers are here and the spring is springing and the greens are greening, and just hold on to it. Like, do not show it because it doesn't make sense to show it right now. And then build out a spring strategy starting at the end of the summer, where you're taking this fall interest and all these eyes on your brand. Because right now, the eyes on photographer brands are other photographers. If I look at who's following me, who's looking at my stuff, it's all photographers. If I go to any of my mentoring students, it's the same thing. Other photographers are bored as hell, and so they're looking at what other photographers are doing. The general public is looking at spring break calendars and wondering about what they're going to do with their kids during that time and how to prepare for spring sports and getting ready for their kid to graduate and planning their summer vacation. They are not thinking, oh my God, I better get a photography session right now. The amount of head turning that your marketing needs to do is substantial. If you're up for the challenge, set yourself up for that success. Okay, so I made this PDF a while ago that has been quite helpful. It's called Past Season Reflection, and I'll put it in the show notes. You can just download it. You don't need to sign up for an email list or anything. So I just want to kind of go through it so you can think about it. It'll start you off on the thinking process. So the first part is describe your past season in one word. So I'm including spring in this because even though we're kind of in the beginning of spring, it's kind of like that situation where you may get some last minute people, but you should be aware or not whether or not your spring is actually booking out. Then it gives you the opportunity to talk about the biggest wins of the season and the biggest challenges, the lesson learned from those wins and challenges. And then this one's important, the people who supported you. So my husband and I were talking about how, no matter how much I try, and even though I have the studio, I definitely have a photography income dip January through March. And it can cause some stress for us, not like a big amount, but enough that we want to be aware of it and set ourselves up better next year. And I know as a marketing person, I was still in this feeling of complete indecision about what I was going to do with my studio. I still thought like, oh, I'll do motherhood in there, or I'll do just babies, and I was just really oscillating back and forth. And it wasn't until really January that I decided I wanted to go all in on headshots and branding. So I gave myself the crappiest runway ever because I basically was starting in January and trying to move forward with something and getting people booked last minute. So looking ahead, you can think about the next time that this season rolls around. What are 2 to 3 words that you want to feel next spring or next winter? That will kind of give you an idea of how you could work towards it. And maybe it's that I'm not saying this has to be everyone, but there may be a portion of you who've been trying to book out spring for the last 7 years and it's just not happening. It's like that Bring It On when she looks out the window at the competition and she's like, if you don't have it already, you don't have it. And I'm not I'm not saying that, but it's like if you have if you don't have it within you to do strategy around spring, could there be a way that you instead restructure your year and have a spring savings account that is sitting there, and then you'd use spring for model call sessions and fun sessions, but you have the money set aside, and then you can slowly over time use those images to, with your existing clientele, bring people over to spring. A really good way would be that everyone who books in fall gets, automatically when they book in fall, they get 25% off spring. And then you're reaching back out and you're saying like, hey, here's your coupon that you've already got if you want to use it. It's those types of strategy moments. If you are not about that strategy, one thing you could say is like, hey, I am just going to freaking chill during spring and get ready. And that'll be my ramp up to summer. And I want summer to be busy and I want to have my fall more controlled. And then you can decide from there. Maybe you want to up your prices and really focus on those sessions. So included in this PDF is 3 small manifestations and 3 big manifestations. And they don't have to be tied to photography income. You could say, I'm going to make $10,000 in April of 2026. That's amazing. How are you doing it? Then you can break it down and start now creating the strategy around that, especially capitalizing on the natural native attention that your brand will have in fall, which oftentimes what I see is that nobody is really marketing too much in fall because people are naturally coming into your brand. So when you go to a photography brand in fall, you see a lot of fall sessions and they may be talking about openings that they have, but the very strategic photographers are capturing that attention for other sessions as well. Okay, then it says 4 ways that you will push past your comfort zone this season. And I think this is really important because it can go either way. Pushing past your comfort zone could look like you opening a savings account and saving 20% of your fall income to just cover spring. And it could also look like setting a huge spring goal and working backwards from that. So I feel like that discomfort can go either in a way where you are realigning spring to be more realistic for the way that you're comfortable marketing, or realigning to a way that you want to push spring past its current limits. And then pick one word from above to embody this season. So maybe it looks like chill, and then maybe it looks like build. So it can go either way, but I feel like what happens is spring kind of hurts all of our feelings a little bit, and then summer gets busy, and then fall gets busy, and we're like, okay, we're on our way. There's no strategy in there at all, and then before you know it, January's here. You're feeling really crazy because you've just come off your highest fall months, and now you have nothing on the calendar, and that feeling of having nothing on the calendar may last all the way through April. So I feel like being honest now about what that can look like for you, and as a marketing helper person, this is not to say that, like I just gave the examples of brands who are doing a good job with spring, but they've given themselves time and runway and strategy. And so if you're not willing to do those 3 things, it could just look like rethinking and reimagining your fall income to cover your spring. Or maybe you do another type of work during spring, or whatever it is. I feel like I just want to have people be really honest with themselves. Or maybe you do like just January through April is your newborn push, and that's the only time of the year that you do newborns. But that's strategy. That's not just thinking a thought and then hoping that people understand what you're saying. That means that starting in August, you're talking about your newborn season, and you're like using scarcity, and you're like, I have 9 more slots for newborns for my newborn season. And like, not everybody gets to get newborn photos with you, only the babies that are born January, February, March, April. So it's a like little push. All of that is strategy. So that is what I want you guys to think about when it comes to spring. And because I don't like this narrative of being like, all you have to do is one thing. All you have to do is talk about one thing. It's like with a lot of my marketing mentoring students, we were doing a lot, but we were up against the wire. Spring was around the corner, and we're trying to like take these people who have no interest in spring and haven't been thinking about it, and going up to them and bear hugging them from behind and turning them around and like peeling their eyes open and be like, look at these flowers. You know what I mean? Like it can get really hard. So I just wanted to have a little bit of an honest chat about that with you guys and have you think about it honestly in a way that's actually serves your mental health and your capacity and your income goals. Because the other thing is, sometimes marketing can be really expensive. And if you look back at in an honest way about if you spent money on marketing in spring, how much money did you spend and to how much money did you make? Those are all questions that you need to ask. Okay, so I hope this episode was helpful, and the membership is opening up on the 21st. I'm so excited about it. $35 a month. Every day I have more ideas about it. And on my Instagram, I just wrote a post, and it's so one of the things is I really wanted to rebrand the membership a little bit from my other courses. And I was kind of unsure about what that would look like. And I realized I wanted us all to remember how magical our jobs are. And I talk about that a lot. It's like a theme on the podcast, that we can forget the magicalness of this job because of the mundane that exists as well. So just yesterday, I did a new senior session in one of my favorite locations in the world. And I was up on the bluff waiting for my client to change into her dress. And this man walked by, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, are you photographing someone?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is my job. I've been doing this for 14 years. And it was like a beautiful sunset, and like it was quiet. There was hardly anyone there. And he was like, "That is an amazing job." And I was just like, oh my gosh, we forget so much that. And does every session feel like that? No, we know the truth. But the other truth is that we are so lucky to do this work and capture these moments for these families. So a big theme of the membership is helping people remember that magic and tap into it. So I hope you guys will join. I think it'll be really fun. The first focus group is going to be about a transformational about me page that really helps clients build trust with you as an artist. And you can post your marketing in there and get feedback, and I'll be popping in live. And I think it'll be really, really helpful. So I hope you guys will join on the 21st. All right, have a good day.